Sending data, sending data, sending data, streaming, streaming, streaming. Waiting for YouTube. Streaming. There we go. We're not starting just yet. Just getting things lined up, kosher, ready to go. Phil, I don't understand. These right here. Ever since we were at your place, my wife orders these all the time now. The Splash sparkling water. So we're not sponsored by them, but it'd be cool if we got sponsored by them. It's one of the few sweet things that I will drink. But thank you, Phil, for turning my wife onto these. Oh my goodness. That has been a gnarly day today. Okay. Go live. Okay. Sorry. That would be my dog chasing my daughter. All right. We're not starting just yet. I'm just going through my checklist. I may start a minute or two early. But last time I had issues with my messaging. I could not get my messages to pop up. Not like uh I do enjoy reading the messages, but um sometimes they can get a little obnoxious. Not on Facebook per se, but some of the other streaming platforms get a little obnoxious. But that's okay. There's so much going on in the next couple weeks. Just to warm into this episode, get the engine started and get that oil temp up and all that good stuff. So this weekend is a double hitter. Got the gnarly Charlie down south at Pepper Park for all the young Groms. On top of, there's a huge battle going on this weekend with the board riders across Florida up in Jacksonville. Shout out to the Space Coast board riders, all of them, for making it in the divisions that they're in, representing all of us in the Space Coast. There's some heavy hitters, and honestly, watching a bunch of these Groms, like Adder and Dominic and a couple like the Minx kids, watching them grow over the past 3.5, 4 years has been fantastic. There's a whole bunch of other surfers. I didn't expect to shout out to them, but I just got a tag with them earlier, so still a work in progress. It is my goal before the end of our, I think, 6th month. I like to have it in the 2nd or 3rd month, so sometime at the end of next month, maybe the month after that. Have a huge shout out section. It takes time to build these things, and you can't rush it. I finally got some camera stuff figured out, got a better view, was working on the lighting and the background and cutting out the TV and you can still see wait, hold on. That way. You could just still see the window in there. I plan on eventually getting all that blocked off and having a pretty sweet backdrop. I mean, I love my surfboards and stuff, and my little tiki guy right there, everyone, from the NKF. Not this year, but the previous year. We did enter into that one this year, and I did all Groms. And we had a legit powerhouse team the first go around, then it got rescheduled, and most of those surfers weren't going to be here for the next date that it got scheduled for. Then the next date got foobarred, and everybody started doing their own thing. So I was like, hey, you know what? We're gonna go with a bunch of Groms, a bunch of young kids. I mean, we almost hit the top five. Um, we 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 were close. It was very close. Those kids. They were. I don't know. I think to get us into the top five, six, we needed. I think the high end was like another 20 or 30 points, something in that. But in a team event, that's not that far off. So a big shout out to all those kids that represented us, the Blue Wave Surf. Um, Sorry, that caught my attention in the corner. uh, what are y'all doing? Well, the Nintendo Switch is upstairs. Oh, okay. All right. Anyways, see, that's why I started early because okay, okay. Thank you. That's why I started early. Get all the stuff out of the way. Um, let's see what else is going on. I don't think it's this weekend, but I know the East Coast Grom Tour is having another big event up in their neck of the woods in the Carolinas. Um, oh, Snap Crackle Pop. So there's another big. Let me see if I can find it real quick because we still have time. The Caribbean Surf Connection. They're out of the Dominican Republic. They just had an update. They had to move uh, and cancel one of their surf. It was for the 28th and 29th at Punta Cana, if I said that correctly. Um, that got canceled. Um, they had some new dates for later in April, and this is kind of some of the stuff that I want to figure out how to put it up and let it scroll through, so those who are watching can catch all that. So we hit the 7 o'clock hour here in Florida. Let me get all my things started. Bam. It's gonna be super chill. I'm exhausted. Had my surfboard made or got it today. It was made by Ricky Carroll. Big shout out to you guys. Thank you so much for making that board for me. It's a memorial piece. Means the world to me. And of course, I only use Foxy Wax. They're also one of our sponsors. Amazing, amazing company. Good people. Actually give you what they promise is in their product. It's 100% organic, and that word can be tossed around very loosely in today's day and age. There's nothing in it that's harsh chemicals that's going to hurt your body or our oceans, and that's a big plus. A lot of these waxes are petroleum based. They say they're not, but they add products in it like certain smells and all that good stuff, which you end up getting from petroleum out of the ground. And while it has its purpose, it doesn't belong in our body. That being said, another shout out to Prince Boards, and some big news. Charming Shark has jumped on board and has become a major sponsor for us. Long term, we're working it all out, but more news on that to come. Some huge changes. It's not finalized yet, but some huge changes coming. And we are looking forward to partnering with Charming Shark. They are an amazing, amazing company. They really do care about the kids in our industry. The products that they make, it's cool to see. They make some beautiful jewelry. A lot of it's like the old 90s stuff for my 80s and 90s kids. Um, that takes us a trip down memory lane. And what they do for our community, they're huge, huge when it comes to trying to find organizations that cater to kids. They do a lot of stuff for the Gnarly Charlie Surf Series. As a matter of fact, they actually sponsor my daughter, Madison. And this is if I put my name behind another company, it's going to be after I've done my due diligence. And this company um, has been following Madison. The owners. That's a family-run business, but they're pretty big, and they call us on Christmas. They called us on Thanksgiving. They call and check. Hey, how's our little Grom doing? Is she happy? Is she healthy? How's her homeschool stuff? How's her surfing stuff? And then they just call and like, hey, how are you doing, man? So a company like that is really what I get behind and stand behind, which matches perfectly with our topics today. And this one's gonna be a doozy for some of y'all. This is taking some shots and some stabs. Nothing that's inappropriate, nothing that's going to get me in legal trouble, but it's just bringing you the raw truth about literally what it's like breaking into the surf industry as a business. It just so happens that my business was the first of its kind. Also, with me being a disabled vet, fighting the VA system and homeschooling my daughter, dealing with a 16-year-old now, and it's a lot to take on. And I thought starting a surf brand was going to be literally all about waves, community, and creativity. Honestly, it turns out it's also political, very gatekeeping, and people watch what you build a little too closely, and legit too closely. But at the same time, I found that the real side of surfing, the part that actually matters, and that's what's kept me in it. What's going on with this, the gatekeeping, the politics? It's a fine line to walk, but we need people who are willing to say, hey, this is what's going on. You hear a lot of people complaining about the surf industry, how it's corporate, how the whole vibe of the industry and surf in general is changing, but they kind of go about it the wrong way when they start calling people out. And I keep receipts, so anything that I ever say, I can back up. And so, I'm not going to give you a polished version. It's not going to be a feel good version. It's the real version. It's going to be inappropriate. And when I say polished, like I go through it and make it politically correct. No, I'm going to be appropriate. I'm not going to drop names. I'm going to be respectful, but at the same time, I'm going to tell you the truth. And when I moved from Texas to Florida, specifically to Brevard County, we live beachside. I was the new guy, legit new guy. Nobody knew me. I knew nobody. I was just a drop in the bucket. No connections, nothing. And I got plugged into a surf shop, getting some lessons because I reached out to social media, of course, and they were all like, "Hey, go hit this person up. Go hit this person up." And I was gung ho and gung fast, and really, it's my fault. I didn't do my research. I just went with it because I literally was starting completely over, mentally, physically, emotionally, the whole shebang. And I talked about that in the first episode. But I quickly realized it just wasn't sitting right with me. I was doing some surf lessons, talking, feeling wasn't feeling the vibe, legit. It felt too structured. It felt controlled, very corporate like. And that's not what surfing is. Even starting out, that's not what surfing is. You know, and that comes with it. That comes with a lot of surf schools, surf shops, set up these schools, these lessons, make a quick buck. What they do is important if it's done right. They have to make money. I get it. But it was too corporate. It was too, hey, here's a couple waves. I'm gonna push you a few times. See ya. That was legit my first experience. As I progressed in my business, dealing with surf shops and the surf shop that particular situation was in, it really explains the surf shop itself. Which legit, I've been to almost all of the surf shops in this county. There's only one I don't like. Sorry, I'm still congested, so I'm sorry if that is in y'all's ear. But then I was very fortunate. I really was. I I was referred to a guy, most of us know him, Victor Nunez Ramirez, the owner of Coca Sol. Phenomenal dude, lifelong surfer, ocean rescue lifeguard, not just here in the States, but he came from Costa Rica. And he did that in Costa Rica also. You know, the real kind of person you want to meet when you're stepping into this world. And honestly, we just clicked. First lesson I did with him, um, we clicked. He brought me back to what I knew it should have been. I wasn't a surfer my whole life. I lived in Hawaii. I didn't surf in Hawaii. I watched surfing. It's not what I did, but I understood the history and the lifestyle that comes with surfing. And I understood immediately that this is who I wanted to be around for getting plugged in and resetting everything for myself as a person and as a business. Um, Honestly, it came in waves. With my personal experience with what I did, I created the Blue Wave Surf wax bags. Wax bags. Now, is a bag in itself brand new? No. Are there bags out there that were similar? Kinda. Not really. It was mostly Tupperware and stuff. But what I did with the bag itself, it had never been done. Um, and this is what brought me to that. Surfing with Victor, doing lessons with him, with my daughter, I quickly realized something was missing. Um, this was pre-wax bag. There was legitimately nothing out there that offered true 100% protection from, with your wax. There were Tupperwares. Um, there were Ziploc baggies people used. And when I say Tupperware, so literally there was like these little round things, and I'm not gonna say their name. If you're in the surf industry or you surf, you know who I'm talking about. But they have a round one with like a soft lid. Then they have a little square one that broke super easy. Um, that was really it. Now, if you got online, there were some leather ones that were really to look good. It was for your fins. It wasn't really for your surf wax. And so, from that, I built it. I created the Blue Wave Surf wax bag, the fully insulated, um, guaranteed up to the highest temp I ever got. It was 190 something degrees for about 45 minutes, depending on the wax itself. Um, and that was in the windshield of my pickup truck in Florida summer, and it didn't melt. And from day one, it clicked. It really did. Once I had it in my hand, gone through the prototypes, literally every surfer that I showed it to loved it, instantly wanted it. I didn't even really need to explain what it was for. I mean, it said Blue Wave Surf wax bag. I only had to explain to distributors and certain surf shops. Um, and legit, every surfer that has ever bought my wax bag, they all had the same problem. It was melted wax, ruined clothes, lost bars, and my product solved it. 100% solved it because it came with a lanyard. You could hook it to your backpack. You could leave it in your truck. You could leave it in your car. You did not legit have to keep up with it, and it kept it from melting. And so I knew I wasn't guessing on the product. I legitimately had something real. And what most people would do in my situation, especially restarting, being new to the industry, not really wanting to jump into another business, I reached out to a major company in the surf industry. They're not corporate, but it was a major, heavy hitter, big brand. Everybody knows who they are, and we started talking, and it looked very promising. We went through several months of communicating, talking numbers, discussing everything, and it really looked promising. I was like, okay, we're on the road to success. This is going to be instant out of the park. Found a great company, or so I thought, that we're going to grow, and we're going to get to grow with them. And then all of a sudden it stopped, just straight up ghosted me. I would call, wouldn't respond. My emails at one point stopped going, like they just weren't going through. And then I was able to get a phone number and talked with the individuals, and we ended up getting on a conference call, and we were talking. And you want to know the reason why they stopped? What the reason was I got? They already had something in development. They have, and most big companies and most big names have a development section, a developmental. They look at things. A lot of times these development departments, they're not developing. They're looking on social media. They're searching the web. They're seeing what other people are doing. There's databases that you can look up and see what's going on, and that's legit what they told me. And I was a little confused and flabbergasted. Like, we've been talking for half a year, if not maybe a little bit longer, and all of a sudden, and I'm not stupid. I'm really not. I've done this before. I've helped other businesses, so on and so forth. So, it was. Hold on, Bear. Reagan, can you get the squeaky thing for Bear? My dog's name is Bear, and he's got a bear that he squeaks, and typically he starts going crazy when he is not being paid attention to. So, get back on point. I called him out. I said, no, you don't. You don't have anything like this. Nobody's had anything like this. Here's my receipts of our communications. And then they ghosted me again, literally within 24 hours of that phone conversation. Boom, the new product was up on their website. And legit, they screwed up. They took the second prototype that I had sent them, and used the insulation for that to create the whole bag itself, which was a very, very bad insulation. That's a reason why I didn't go with it. I tested it and tested it heavily. I extreme test things. I don't just sit in a lab and be like, oh, hey, this looks cool. Let's push this on the surf industry or the public and make them buy it because we're big and we can price point everybody out. Fortunate enough for me, that didn't happen. There wasn't much success with it. I mean, it's out there still. But shortly after that, after we really started growing and getting in other surf shops, and landed a distributor or two, I started shipping stuff overseas, Japan. I've had orders from Japan, Australia. I'm having a brain fart. Oh my gosh, I gotta look on New Zealand, all over Europe. I didn't know they surfed in Europe. I mean, Nazare, but Canada, Hawaii, Costa Rica, and many other places. We started pushing and that was after rejections. I can't tell you how many times I was rejected. Literally, distributor after distributor after distributor. We love the idea. We don't know who you are, so we don't want you. I've only ever been turned away legit by 2 surf shops. I've been ghosted by a couple, but legit 2 surf shops. The first shop I ever, well, he was technically the second surf shop I ever tried to get in. Looked at me and said, "You're a family man. It's just you. You're never going to be successful. You're not even you don't have a distributor." After all of that, we started gaining ground. Legit, started being able to sponsor some surf competitions. When given the opportunity, we are successful. But in the beginning, we had some doubts, some people. We had another company I won't say their name, but they make wooden things. And then we were in a surf shop well before they were, and a couple. And then all of a sudden they're in those surf shops. And then shortly after that, they come out with a square wooden wax holder with the same insulation that we used. Uh, and so when I say getting into any industry is tough, getting into the surf industry, like I said earlier, you're watched. You're watched heavily. They're going to watch what you're creating, they're going to watch what you're pushing on social media. You know, if they see, because they're sales reps are going to report back to whoever they're selling for. It's just the name of it. It's a very cutthroat industry to be in. And I'm not trying to be negative about it. I'm just bringing you the cold, hard truth of legit what I've had to deal with. Um, but at the same time, I was blessed with people like Ricky Carroll, Another Ride Surf Shop, MTB. Um, they're over in Satellite. The Satellite Indian Harbor Melbourne beach lines are just so foobarred, and then Melbourne. Um, we're Catalyst. There's a whole bunch. We're in surf shops. In the Carolinas, um, in Phil's surf shop. We're in GNS over in California. We're in a couple in Hawaii. Um, and Victor. Everybody has been once they got once they got to know me, and then once they actually used my product and had it in their hand, they just were like, "Oh, we want to be behind this." So it's not been all doom and gloom. It has been very um, trying. There's when you get into this industry, I've narrowed it down to 3 different scenarios you're going to deal with as a business. Um, the first one is going to be you've got tons of money. You're able to really push and push and push whatever it is you're trying to push. And most of the time, I hate to say this, you're going to get into the large corporate shops, which is fine. Hey, everybody wants to make a dollar. Um, but for your average person, you're not going to be able to come in here, put everything you have into a product, literally put yourself on the line um, by yourself, and have that backing, unless you're well off or you somehow you had investors and that whole thing, which is a very big possibility. Um, but I didn't. Um, and the next one is going to be you are run off. They're going to run you off. They want nothing to do with you. Um, they just trying to get you the hell out of Dodge is legit. I've seen it. And then where I fell into it was, hey, you seem like a legit dude. You seem like somebody who's honest and truthful and really want what's best for this industry and the people that are in it. But you're the new guy. So, and here we are, 3.5, almost 4 years later, still doing our thing. We've been a part of some amazing competitions. We have clawed. I mean, we've got guys like Ben Gravy. He has our wax bags. Great dude, phenomenal story. Um, we've had other big name surfers from Hawaii and across the globe that, you know, dude, yeah, let me snag one of those. And that's part of this. You got to hand them off. Um, but I have legitimately never had a negative complaint about what I created. And I'm blessed for it. It's put me in a situation to where I've gotten to meet some amazing people, some fantastic companies, amazing surf shops. Have been able to, not as big as I'd like, but support, you know, individual surfers, and get to be a part of other kids' lives that their backstory is tough, and it's been a phenomenal experience dealing with it. But you have to be careful. You have to be careful getting into this industry. This industry is so saturated right now. Not just surfers, but the business itself. There's a huge rift with how quickly the surf industry exploded, especially COVID, during COVID and after. Um, it's just, it is what it is. But here's the problem: when you have gatekeepers, it makes it very tough. Um, when you're a small business and you're trying to get known, you're not going to sit there and really buck the system. If you do, more power to you. You must have deep pockets. Um, it's just is what it is. But we're now in a situation to where I don't know if I will ever legitimately call out names unless it gets crazy, to the, it would have to get legitimately crazy. But people aren't stupid. I could say exactly what I said earlier, and they're going to be able to go look it up and see. And like I said, I keep my receipts. This is more of a in-depth look at my personal experience. Um, Surf competition to surf competition, surf shop to surf shop, even surfer to surfer, beach to beach. Um, but industry wise, the gatekeepers are absolutely destroying this industry. Destroying this industry. You've got the old hats that aren't letting go, that aren't stepping down, that aren't letting this new generation come, because I'm not going to throw myself in the new generation, but I feel like I'm a part of it because I was on the outside. I see where it's going because I've been a part of other industries, and I see why it's going in that direction. You have corporate greed, corporate overreach, gatekeepers, politics. You have a select few individuals and companies that run certain aspects of this industry, and it's an expense. It is a very expensive industry. If somebody tells you no, it's not, they're full of it. Um, it is. You think it's cheap running a surf competition? A legit surf competition? It's not cheap. It's not. We could talk numbers, but why? It's not cheap. Even small surf competitions, I'll throw Nolly Charlie out there. Great competition. When he's pushing 100 and something kids, double beaching it. Phil double beaching it. Anywhere from 25, 45, 55 regionals, ESA regionals. I just had to pay $170. That's not cheap. I say that because you follow the money. It's just like with any other industry. Where does the money go? Who's the money coming from? Are these organizations, these surf shops, these big pro name surfers that are pushing certain products, why are they pushing it? I'm going to say something. Um, Look at surfboards. Yes, AI, yes, automated stuff is just going to be a part of it. But when you have big name surfers pushing these wacky surfboards that they're now taking the stringer out of the middle and putting metal on top, and pushing these fully automated surfboards, and they're junk. They may feel good, they may feel light and super strong, but I was fortunate enough to gather some intel. When you have large names, large companies like that pushing a product like that, it's not like, we'll just say who I get my boards from, Ricky Carroll. It's not like you've got those two, C shapes. There's tons of them. So I'm not just picking on one surfboard maker. What I'm saying though is when you have these surfboards that are made that way, they're able just to say, "Hey, here, you don't sell them, we'll take them back and push back," and that's what they do. Legit, when you buy from a shaper, you have to buy the board, and it could sit there. Now what they're doing is they're making these crappy boards. I don't care if you say you like them. That's fine. You could like it, but I would much rather have something that had heart, that had, somebody's personal blood, sweat, and tears put into that um, object. It's just like trucks. Like, I was over the road trucker. The old trucks are the way to go. These new trucks, just garbage. It's because they don't last as long. They're not built as good or as strong. Um, and that's part of it. So they're in it for so little, they can afford to, hey, give me those back, and here you go. It, that's just how it is in this industry right now. And you're either going to be able to push back against it and say no, but it takes, the surf industry is kind of in that middle ground right now to where they could push, if enough shops and enough people that actually make the surf industry go round, which is your surfers. They've pushed it now to where I screw it, I don't care. I hate surfing the pier. I hate surfing at Cocoa Beach Pier. I hate it. Hotel owns it. Then you got people that surf there that shouldn't be surfing there. You've got companies that want to run other companies off because they feel like they own it. That right there is the problem. And unless everybody finally has enough of it, because I'm here to tell you, as an outsider looking in, even though I do surf, even though I do have a business in this industry, as somebody who can legit sit on the outside and look in, those same companies and people complain. But you're catering to the tourists. You're catering to people who don't legitimately keep your doors open. And that's important. It really is. This is not just a business. It is one of the few industries that is a true lifestyle. And unless you're willing and in a position to say, nah, we're not going to carry that, or no, we're not going to support that. I mean, surf shops, you guys owned by some of these surf competitions? Are you owned by some of these major surfers? Are they the ones paying your bill? Because last time I checked, when you're a sponsor, it's your sponsee that works for you, per se. You know, they don't hit you up and say, hey, you need to carry this. That also goes back to, though, is you've got these surfers who are sponsored by the megacorps, which in the surf industry, there's not really that many. It's just they're so big and have so much money that they control it, which sucks, which is another reason why I'm doing what I'm doing now. So, kind of got off a little topic there, but as somebody who surfs, as somebody who has a business in this industry, I it's coming from firsthand experience. Um, sorry, I moved my mouse. Honestly though, with all that being said, um, even though the market is saturated with clothing lines and surfboards and just people in general, and little trinkets and tinkets and major surf stores and small and mom and pop surf shops and all that good stuff. There's still a lot of good people out there. There's still a um, lot of great surfing events. A lot of good people. It's just going to take everybody as a collective group to say, all right. And there are some surf series that are like, screw y'all. We're gonna do this the right way. Um, and for me personally, a lot of this would not be possible without people like Victor, with Coca Soul, people like Phil Jackson with the East Coast Grom Tour, you know, um, being able to meet, and I've met famous people before, so it doesn't like get me all excited, but it's cool. Being able to meet big names, Ben Gravy and John, and a whole bunch of top tier people, surfers. Um, you know, Being able to build relationships with just your everyday surfers. Um, the Chris Burdine. Like I said in a previous, I couldn't stand the guy. But after getting to know him, getting to surf with him, and all the surf shops, like Core, Another Ride, Flahana, Catalyst, all these surf shops that I've been able to meet. It's those type of people that really make this industry what it is. It's just tainted with a select few ones that run certain surf competitions, big and small, supporting industries like when you have major surf shops or major stores. I'm tiptoeing, so put two and two together, that don't relinquish the power that they have onto the new generation. Prime example is look at the NFL and look at the Hall of Fame. I literally don't watch sports anymore and don't pay attention to the news, but I still caught that Bill Belichick wasn't put a first round ballot. That's the same thing in the surf industry. It's politics. How does a coach like that not get in? Well, it's the people that are running it. It's the same thing with the surf industry. Um, you know, I'm a no gimmick kind of guy. I'm not gonna force anything, not with anything I ever create or anything that I get behind. I'm gonna push it and tell the truth, um, and that matters more than you quite understand. Uh, Being able to be in a position to where now I can create a platform to discuss these things without hate, without malice. It's because of you guys. It's because of people that I've mentioned. There's no way on God's green earth that I ever think that I was going to jump into this industry and create something that I've sent to Japan, Australia, Europe, Canada, have team riders, you know, be named at events, be in events, be in competitions, and go to other people's competitions and be like, hey, you're the wax back guy, and then meet some of the people I've gotten to meet. Um, that right there is what this industry should be. It should be getting behind good products, standing behind good competitions, standing behind good surf shops and businesses, and promoting them. There's no reason why Surf Shop A needs to have beef with Surf Shop B if they're trying to push the same thing. Now, if you have a major surf shop that is super huge and global, then I can understand the mom and pop not wanting to set shop. But they have their role too. It's not it should be like this across the board, and it's not. There's backstabbing. Like I said, there's politics. Um it reminds me of Shrek. Ogres have layers. Well, the industry has layers. There's levels to it, and if you're not already inside certain circles, you're gonna feel it. You're gonna get ignored. You're gonna get passed on. And sometimes you won't even get a response at all. But that's part of it. You got to deal with it. You got to find the people that are gonna support you. Sorry. And I'm gonna tell you guys, legit, as a business owner, if you're looking for a sponsor, you don't tell the sponsor what they do. You don't do that. You don't tell the sponsor, hey, I want you to do this, or hey, I want you to post this, or I need you to carry this, or I don't like what you're about. Well, if you don't like what that company's about, then leave. I guarantee you're not under a contract. I guarantee it. So leave. Don't, if you're a young surfer or even an old surfer and are looking for sponsorships, as somebody who has sponsored people and still sponsoring people, and somebody that knows big companies, and not just in the surf industry, but other major sports industries, you don't ever tell a sponsor what to do. You just leave if you're able to, if you're not in a contract. But I can't tell you how many times, dude, so and so was trying to tell me to do this with my company. Or they were saying, hey, how come you're doing this and not doing this for me? Well, how come you're posting about them or they're happen to be in your window and I'm not? Dude, shut up, get out there, and actually do your job. And your job is to represent the brand that's helping you, right? It blows my mind. Fortunately, we as a company have never had to deal with that. Now I've had a surf family or two that says, "Hey, here's what we're about. You know, if you're gonna sponsor our child, uh, we would like to make sure that if you post said Johnny with music, make sure it's appropriate music, and of course, uh, you know, I set that tone right off the bat. You know, I'm not gonna post a video of my daughter with some raunchy music. But that kind of stuff is okay if you're legit being sponsored, and that's a concern. Stuff like that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. As a matter of fact, I say that when I'm hunting for sponsors for my daughter, I'm like, here's what I'm about. We're pretty conservative. You know, yeah, I've talked to I'll just use this as an example. I've talked to a couple clothing companies, and I tell them, you know, I don't want my daughter out there in a bikini, you know, because she's going to be judged on her bikini, not her surfing, her surfing. It happens. I I would rather put that out there, you know, in an appropriate way, or say, hey, you know, I've done my homework on your company. This is what we're about. Is this going to be a problem for you? And no, that's different than sending a message to somebody saying, I demand this or you need to do this. So be very careful when you're blowing up sponsors. And another thing, as a business owner, stop asking for free stuff all the time without you doing the work. I can't tell you when I first did this, when I was first getting started, I legit nobody would tell me anything. Nobody would tell me how sponsorship works. I had to go dig at pull up some old archive contracts and stuff. Yes, you can find them. About how the big leagues were doing it, and so I'm like, well, how do I put this into this? So if you're a surfer and you don't post on social media, don't ask for free stuff. If you're a surfer and you don't surf in competitions, don't ask for free stuff. Businesses can't survive by giving all their inventory away. Now, if you're actually going to legitimately try to help promote said company, then that's a different story. But I'm here to tell you, I love this industry, the surfing part. I'm kind of on the fence on the industry itself. I can't tell you how many times I put a stop to it, but at one point I was up to like 75 team riders, if not more, and I'm like, okay, I got to redo this. I got to stop. I'm just giving all my stuff away, and 99% of them never posted a thing on social media. Well, we take it to the beach with us. That's great, but we live in a social media world, the internet. I need it on there because legit, you're my advertisement. I'm sending you free products. I'm sending you stuff. I'm consistently tagging you. And surfers want everything free. I'm guilty of it. I get my wax from Foxy, and they take care of us.
But there's times where I'm like, brother, let me buy like, you know, 10, 10, 10 cubes. I almost said logs. Let me buy a couple. No, 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 no. You ride for us. It's what we do. Um, but that's a huge problem also in this industry. It's not just the mega corporations. It's not just the old hats that won't relinquish or step down and let somebody younger with, more attitude and more drive to take over. It also is us surfers always wanting free stuff but never wanting to return the favor, or always wanting a discount instead of paying full price. I honestly I can't tell you the most supportive people in the very beginning were people that I had no clue who they were. They didn't ask me, can I get a discount? Nothing. They just said, we like your product, we like your backstory, send us some. But, I have people that are in my top 5, top 10 people that I'll be around, and not once did they offer to buy a couple. Well, what are we going to use it for? Well, that's not the point. I'm your boy. You say you're my friend. You say you support what I'm doing and you like what I'm about. But when it comes to actually supporting, that's where most people uh, draw the line. And as surfers, as people who partake in this industry, got to get better at doing that. But honestly, with all that being said, um, the real side of surfing is still there. The core surfers, the small brands, the shops that actually care, the people, those people are the ones that show up. And they're the ones that have supported me. I could name off a big list of names, uh, and you guys know who you are. You know, I had a lot of people locally support me. Um, even people outside of our county. Like I said, the first surf series that I actually ever was given a platform was the Treasure Coast with Brando down there. Um, gave me a platform. Ricky Carroll has always our first year, like few months here. Uh, he invited me to his Christmas deal, and we've been ever since. And then it's Built, and then it's Gnarly Charlie, and then it's the East Coast Grom Tour, and then it's Space Coast, Board Riders Club. They don't really do events like some of the other clubs. They push more global, which is awesome. And then there's, you know, we're working on building relationships in the Dominican Republic, um, building relationships with really whoever wants to start promoting their groms, because it's not just a podcast talk show twice a week where I rant and rave and joke and grab ass around. There's more to this. There's the live streaming services. There's the future goals of legitimately having a station that we can promote. Like you turn on ESPN, guess what? You're going to see all the football games that are going on, all the soccer games that are going on, all the sports that are going on. That's what I'm wanting to build here. Um, and how that ties into this is, if you're willing to go through, and this is an old infantry term, if you're willing to embrace the suck, it's going to be better once you're done. You're gonna embrace that it sucks. You're gonna embrace that nobody wants you. You're gonna embrace that nobody likes you, or you can't get your product out, or the politics. Stay neutral. Don't choose. You choose the side of being right versus wrong. You see somebody getting their face smashed in, you go protect them. That translates into this industry. Stay neutral. Support those who support you. Don't badmouth anybody. Don't get on Instagram, Facebook, social media, and just start calling people out, dropping names, and being completely ugly and inappropriate. And you'll make it. It may not be in the way that you originally planned, um, but that's just to me that's the joy of the walk, of the journey, is there's a huge possibility I'm going to fail. With all the cards stacked against me, let's continue going. Let's see what happens. Um, and look, we're blossoming, we're growing. We, like I said, we just picked up a huge sponsor, and building that relationship into something. Who knows? Legit, like who knows where it's going to go? Um, support, um, support those who support you. Me personally, like I said, I've stayed neutral through it all. I don't pick sides. I'm not getting involved in the politics. I just pay attention. I speak honestly about what I see. But I will say this, on a closing note: there's a difference between building a business and trying to control an entire culture. And surfing was never meant to feel corporate, ever. Somewhere along the way, that line got blurred. And at some point, you have to decide where you stand in that. For me, it's simple: build something real, stay consistent, and stay honest. Again, I would like to thank you guys for the support. Um, Thank you for supporting what we're doing, what we're trying to be about. Thanks to my major sponsors, um, all my sponsors. I appreciate you guys. I, all the people that I've not mentioned, I appreciate you. And if you're willing to jump on the social medias, like, follow, share, add some input, add some comments, let's fight this battle together. Let's put surfing back where it was meant to be, and that's with surfers.